Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to our Unstoppable Mumpreneur Telesummit interviews. We have a truly awesome, amazing, inspiring expert with us here tonight. Her name is Sacha Sterling, and I'll tell you a bit about Sacha, but it's with all the other fantabulous, that's been my word now, fantabulous experts. We're going to learn so much more as we go through these questions. So Sacha is a business and life coach focusing on how we can thrive regardless of our current circumstances. As a mother of two young children, a wife, an entrepreneur, and advisor, Sacha knows firsthand how to support women and mothers as they maneuver through life's challenges to come out stronger, happier, and more successful than ever. Sacha has coached hundreds worldwide to stop the destructive habit of just surviving and create thriving home and business lives. Sacha, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here on your summit.
I am honored to have you. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to roll straight in here, Sacha, with all my first questions. Yeah, my first question.
Perfect.
Can you tell us a bit more about yourself? I know we've touched, on a nice, bright snippet there of you, but there's lots more to you. Tell us a bit more about yourself, your kids, what your journey into entrepreneurship so far has been like, and what was the catalyst? What got you started on your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, good. I love this question. So I just love the topic of your event. I am a passionate mom and wife and business owner, and actually jumped into all three all at once. Within 3 months, I met my husband, we got pregnant, married, and started our first business. So for me, it was really diving into the deep end of the pool out of necessity and desire. And I think that, people are born with the entrepreneurial spirit, right? If you're on the line watching, I think it's always inside of the person, that desire for freedom and impact and lifestyle and really being on purpose. So for me, it all happened at once, and it's been quite a wild ride. My first business was a clothing store, and our baby was just, 8 months old when we ended up opening the doors to that first clothing store. And we really came from very humble beginnings. We had about $8,000 to our name, combined cash and a credit card. And we leveraged that into a $500,000 business in just 2 years. And that was really the beginning. We got really excited about what was possible through entrepreneurship. And we ended up opening many brick and mortar businesses and growing our lifestyle and growing our family. We have two beautiful girls. And, unfortunately, we didn't have the training or the support to maneuver when a local recession happened. And we, nearly lost everything. Simultaneously, I was a women's empowerment coach, but it was kind of the hobby business. And once that happened and our other income sources were being threatened by choices we made combined with circumstance, I really got serious to look into what's happening in business, what are the success strategies for both brick and mortar and virtual businesses, and how has the landscape changed with, the industrial age to the information age. I mean, just 30 years ago, there would be no way to be on this, right? And connecting from halfway around the world. So really things have changed. So that's when I really got serious about monetizing my coaching business. And we just a few months ago now have sold our last remaining brick and mortar business and are completely a virtual business now, where we can go anywhere and travel together. And it's been the most incredible journey being an entrepreneur and being a mom and having them mixed together.
So you've obviously been in business for a while now, and you started out brick and mortar, and now you've gone pretty much completely virtual.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that must be quite a shift with the freedom that comes with a virtual business. What were some, going back to your brick and mortar days, what were some of the early challenges that you experienced? And even, as you solidified your coaching business, what were some of those early challenges and how did you overcome them?
Oh, such a good question. So whether you're on the line and, have a brick and mortar business or have a home-based business, whatever it is, I think there's always challenges that come up to test us to see, am I going to problem solve, or am I going to change my mind and not do this business anymore and get a job or rely on someone else? So there have been many moments that I've problem solved. One moment that I think of is the day I signed the lease for what would have been our second clothing store. I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter. So it was a huge test. It was a huge test to say, and my older daughter was only a year old. And I thought, my goodness, like, do I really want to do this? So that was a moment, and I signed the lease and I opened the business, and the strategy changed. Instead of, it was a children's clothing store. So I just problem solved. I said, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do to get this business up and running, and then I'm going to flip it. So I was committed to having that business sold before my due date, which I did. I sold it 30 days before my due date of my second daughter. So that's one, but there, it was challenging. I got up against my edges on that. Something that's coming to mind right now is because simultaneously with these stores, I also was a women's empowerment coach, and it's just always been my passion is coaching and supporting women in emotional mastery and financial mastery. And so I have now 2 little girls. We had this big property at that time with there was like a golf course on the property and all these outbuildings, and it was really fun. But I had my very first paying coaching client, but I had no childcare. At that time, I was queen multitasker, which now I refuse to multitask. But at that point, I thought I can do it all. So I had 2 little babies, and my husband's at one of our stores, and I have this paid coaching client, and I have no babysitter, no help. And so I'm running away from the kids, putting myself on mute and off mute for the call. And, I think that was a really big wake-up call as a mompreneur, to say, wait a minute, is this really how I want to do it? Is this really going to work out long-term for everybody involved? And that was the beginning of a many-year journey of, there's a hummingbird out the window. That's beautiful. That really was a wake-up call to me, because I have such high drive and such high ambition, as I'm sure you do, Cheryl, and also people on the line. But how do I want to feel while I'm building out my business and growing my family? And that's become my mantra. From that day, it really was, how do I want to feel while I'm living my life, going after my dreams, and really enjoying the moment now was the big thing that came through. So it took, to be honest, 5 years to actually stop being a multitasker. Now I refuse to multitask, which means I delegate a lot, and I have a lot of support, and I am realistic of what I expect from myself. I'm very quick to say no to opportunities now, because I just refuse to multitask. So that was a big one, and it took many years to integrate that lesson, but it's been life-changing.
I'm sure it's been. And I just wonder, when you talked about being the super multitasker, it just made me think, it is what a lot of women are, especially moms.
Yes.
Especially moms, just super multitaskers. And we're pretty much encouraged to be. And it's, for many of us, it's become a badge of honor as well. And I personally, I know I find myself, to be totally honest, doing it as well at times, and I do have to remind myself, okay, how can I hand this over? Who can I hand it over to? How can I work this differently? Because at the end of the day, I don't think it serves us fully, and serves, the people in our lives fully either, when we are being all things to all people.
Yeah, it's so true. I know I also wore that as a badge of honor. And so I think a lot of people are groomed, women especially, and we're waking up to that. The thing is that as mompreneurs, if we have monetary goals with our business, we actually have to be able to focus, because our productivity relies on focused attention, not being distracted and not multitasking. So, that image of, I even have one of my amazing women who's joined my team, who she has 4 children, and I'm supporting her in that right now. She's doing sales calls and she's got a baby on the hip, and there's something that's forging of that, like, okay, I can do it. And it's not to discredit the short period of time that sometimes it is we're being asked to do more and hold more to get to the other side, but it's not sustainable forever, right? And so our quality of feeling and being is the ultimate. So I think the main thing is to just be aware of it, that habit of multitasking, and change the association of, it isn't, I don't need to be the martyr or the victim or do it all, right? It's okay. And for me, the big one was I had so much story around, I would be a bad mom, if I had help, if I had a nanny or childcare at that time. I thought only I can do this. I don't want to traumatize my children, and that was really, I don't know where that came from. It's not true. There's many trustworthy, amazing people to help raise children. But yeah, it's women who are wanting to have it all or do it all or be it all. Being an entrepreneur while being a mom is filled with those opportunities to make choices. And ultimately, our businesses are just as important as our children. And I think men have an easier time at this, where everything is important. Family's important, work is important, fitness is important, and I think as women, we're trained also to say my kids have to be the most important thing to me all the time. And so for me, a big breakthrough was that my dreams are just as valid and as important here in my family's life and my life, and to carve out more room. So I always thought my coaching was a hobby business because I didn't place the same value placement on as I did as my husband's businesses. Ultimately, they were more his. I was the support person, and also my children. So really, it's a value conversation.
Very much so. Very much so. I'm so pleased that you spoke to a huge permission piece for a lot of women, even be we empowerment coaches or whatever. It's that piece about owning that our businesses are as important as our children. It is something that's still very, very difficult for a lot of us to say. There's a lot of judgment, personal judgment, and judgment by others, in our own minds, around that statement. What else can be more important than your children? What else could possibly be? But for those of us who say that our businesses are as important as our children, we know what drives that. Our children drive that. It's creating that. One of the experts I had on last night spoke about that legacy that we want to create for our children, and that's why it's so important. I also believe that as women, whether we are biological mothers or not, we birth things. We are creators, very almost divine kind, and they're nurturers and caretakers. And I think it's for those reasons that our businesses are so important to us. They come from us, and we want to see them grow and help others to grow. So thank you for speaking to that. Thank you for speaking to that. Powerful.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you fully about, really I'm thinking self-actualization, right? So women historically, we just have more opportunities than ever before. And I do believe there's this growing impulse of women to say, I can't put this off any longer. I must birth this, as you said. And the type of business and the business model are very important. And business really can be easy, and it doesn't need to sacrifice our roles as mothers. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if my kids needed me, of course I would be there for them. And I think every woman on the line is there too. And what you said about legacy, it's so true. And I think that there's this call right now for women to get radically honest and birth our businesses, birth our legacies out, that will of course affect all of our kids too.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Now, 5 years on, or it's probably more than five, or 5 years or so on, what are some of the obstacles that still come up for you now that you're more established in your business, and how do you manage those obstacles?
Yeah, that's big. Okay, so two that are up right now, just to be radically honest with everybody, are my calendar is my best friend. I run a great calendar. I work when my kids are at school. I drop them off every day at school, and my husband picks them up. If I'm in a launch like I am right now, sometimes my assistant plugs in appointments right at their pickup time. And if my kids come home and I'm not ready to run to greet them, they get very, very upset. So right now it's that balance of, it's a problem solve. It's just a problem solve opportunity. So I'm fitting in a couple time slots, my solution to this problem, because of course if I see my children's disappointment of my lack of attention right then at a very important moment, I'm going to adjust my calendar and my strategy. So what I've been doing is opening up an hour after they go to bed to fit in some extra appointments if needed, just during a launch. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's happening where I'm, because I'm growing and, there's a big expansion happening. So it's like, okay, where does it fit in then? Because I spend the afternoons and evenings with them and the weekends, but things still have to get done. Yeah. So another piggyback on that's happening as a mompreneur is my traveling's increased. And I'm fine going away for 2 to 3 days, once a month maximum, and they stay with my mom. But my travels has been expanding more. So now we're going to be traveling as a family every time I go on a work trip. And so that's new. That's going to be fun. But we're going to spend the whole month of November most of the month of November in Oahu. And so it's just really exciting to, I'm sure that there'll be some things to problem solve with that, because then of course my attention will be diverted. It won't just be there for business. It will be there with my husband and my children. And so as a mompreneur, it's always I don't want to say juggling act, but it kind of is. What hat am I wearing? And again, back to our conversation, our theme of multitasking. So how can I do this with grace where I'm not multitasking, but I'm integrating? So that's something that's been huge for myself and my clients is all of your interests and all of your responsibilities don't need to go in separate lanes. How can we integrate them to just create this relief? So if my kids, I was on an interview last week and both my kids popped in and I just was like, yeah, this is life. This is a mompreneur's life and it's okay. And I didn't get any stress. So my main goal is how do I feel? How do I want to feel while I'm running my business and my life? And I'm just not willing to sweat the small things anymore.
Yes. Don't sweat the small stuff. And I like what you said there as well about integrating with grace, both spheres of your life. And that will roll into a question that I'm going to ask you. You talk about your kids. I've been trying to think of the term for it today with myself. When people and situations pop into your photo that you've posed, so deliberately for, we call it photo bombing.
Right.
This would be video bombing, and my daughter video bombed one of my interviews.
You're a mompreneur. It's just par for the course.
Yeah. I'm sitting here chatting away with one of the mom experts, and I can see, the curtain off to my left moving, the door isn't open. I'm not feeling a draft. What's that movement? And I saw this little person rise very slowly to the bookcase, thinking, goodness. And one of the experts as well, she's in Thailand, and her daughter video bombed interview as well. So it happens. It's life as a mompreneur.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. So I'm going to jump into that question that you sort of, you started you touched on. And it's that thing between work-life balance or the blend. And we've had experts who veer one way or another, and some experts who said it's neither. And they have another operating system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fine. Which is it for you? Which do you tend to veer more towards, the balance or the blend? Or
Yeah. maybe a little both. I don't know. The main thing I'm thinking in response to your question is the importance of validating needs. So in our family, we keep a real finger on the pulse of who is everyone now, because we're all changing, right? Who are we now? What is the love language? What is the underlying need? What is the most effective way to validate this human being? You know, and I include myself in that. So my husband and I, we block out Fridays when the kids are at school. They're on a half day. It's our date day. So we go on a walk and we go get coffee and breakfast. And that's how I honor time. I don't bring my phone. I don't, you know, and then we also do overnights and things like that, you know, quarterly that, you know, so that we're having our nice husband-wife time separate from me as an entrepreneur, separate from him as a musician and entrepreneur, and separate from being co-parents. For the kids, it's again what I shared a little bit before of they really love me to drop them off at school. If I try to outsource that to my husband, they get very upset. So I just surrendered to that. I'm on from 5 a.m. till drop off, and I love the role. And they're early birds; they're little early risers. And then also weekends. So I'm with them when they get home from school, and we make dinner together, and it's, you know, so validating those needs for real presence is important. And then on Sundays, the kids get to decide what we do for family day. So, you know, sometimes it's going to the park, sometimes it's a little bit more fancy, and, you know, like, you know, we have a place locally that, you know, those family fun centers and things like that. And then for me, of course, I have my support team. So it's all about validating needs so that everyone feels met, because as a mompreneur, effectiveness is the most important goal for me. And that doesn't sound very sexy, but there's only one of me, and there's a lot of clients. There's a lot of real people with very important needs. So if I've been I study psychology, and EFT is very effective. If anyone's interested in this conversation, it's really ultimately our need for connection trumps our need for love and trumps our need for security. So connection is where it's all at. So if we can just connect effectively to what's presenting, and what are they trying to say to me? Maybe not even outwardly, but underneath, what is the need? And that's how I run my life and my business. And ultimately that then dictates how I divide my time and effectively. And it's not equal. It's definitely about being effective though.
Being effective. Love that. Do love that. Thank you for sharing that one. Now here is a question that's, I call it the controversial question.
Ooh, okay, bring it.
And it's that one that, you know, experts have shared differing opinions on. Do you believe that anyone can become a holistically successful mompreneur?
Holistically successful mompreneur. What do you mean by holistically successful?
And I deliberately said holistically successful so that it's not focusing on, in our society, we tend to equate success with money. Nothing being wrong with money at all. But we all know of people who are very, very financially comfortable, but not emotionally and spiritually comfortable to an equal level. So for me, it takes in all those aspects of our lives. Are they at a threshold that we are happy with? Yeah, so that's what holistic is.
This is a great question, Cheryl. So this is really important for anyone who's an entrepreneur or ambitious or just not complacent with just humming along. I think this is a really important question. So I almost got divorced about 2 years ago because partly the needs conversation. So my husband and I both, you know, after years of just being so ambitious together and raising kids, there was a lot of unmet needs and things that we did that, you know, traumatized each other. And I don't say that like, you know, extreme, but we do that in relationship, right? We wound each other and then things build up over time. So even though we were, you know, on the outside, maybe look like a great family or successful, I was in extreme emotional despair at that point. And I almost walked away because I just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, that didn't happen. And we leaned in and we did the work by Dr. Sue Johnson. So EFT is a couples therapy process. And again, we crave connection. So I do think we're designed to be in relationship. As mompreneurs, if you have children, I do think that we do better in thriving partnership. I just think we do when we really have a safe harbor in another, the place that we can go to really have our needs met, be seen, feel really worthy. I think that it really is a good success strategy for entrepreneurs to have a healthy marriage and healthy families. So my motto right now with my husband, our mission statement is healing families, one business at a time. And it's so much about this conversation, you know. So the women's movement really spurred in the 70s, spurred this women in the workplace, women in business, and the divorce rates were never higher. So I do believe that our generation, everyone who's really just forging ahead at this time in history, in 2016 and beyond, our goal is to say, how can we do this as a family? How can we keep the unit together? How can we grow together as a team? How can we all get more on purpose and more in love with each other while we go after our dreams? So again, it's back to the integrated approach. So it has been so miraculous to go through this EFT process with my husband, and business has never been better. We've never felt more fulfilled. We're doing better financially than we have been. And but ultimately it's, again, how do I feel? So if I feel peace and calm and loved and seen and supported, that does a lot. I mean, that really goes back to the holistically successful conversation where it doesn't matter so much what's going on the outside. It's how we feel on the inside. And we need others to help us feel good. And I used to resist that. I used to think that that wasn't true because I have a big background in mindset and personal leadership. But actually, we are designed to be witnessed and validated by another. Our needs do count. So, you know, in the EFT couples focused work, it does have a 90% success rate. So I would say to that question, can anyone? Probably anyone can, but I don't think everyone seeks out the proper support or model and isn't maybe willing to do the work to do it. But for someone who's willing to get the right support, work a proven plan, and put in the time and the work, it's absolutely possible. I have a colleague who's up at the 7-figure mark, and she is, so on the outside, very successful. Huge business, right? Has tons of free time living the laptop lifestyle like myself. But I talk to her regularly about her loneliness, and she doesn't have a husband at this point. And so she is very quick to say that she's not successful. Her definition of success is having a man who loves her and someone to love and cuddle with at night. And so I think this is a really important question that you've asked, and one that each of us gets to ask for ourselves. So not everyone maybe wants to be in partnership right now. That's totally valid. But if relationship is a pain point, is a thorn or a boulder on your heart or whatever, where anywhere in between, it's unlocking that, freeing yourself and really creating that stable love is going to catapult your business. So.
That is an immensely immensely profound piece that you just shared there. Thank you for, sharing that quite personal piece as well, and letting us, into that aspect of your life. But you're living, breathing testimony to the fact that we can come through this entrepreneurship, especially for very driven women. And I imagine women, I guess any woman, but I know particularly with myself, I do have a fair amount of masculine energy. And I have to know when there are moments to soften that. It is who I am, but I have to know when to soften that, because it can be as advantageous as it can be disadvantageous. And for women who are so driven and passionate about their businesses, sometimes it can be hard for partners to get it. And when that happens, there can be moments of friction. It doesn't mean that they do not support our work. It doesn't mean they're not supportive. They support us in other ways. I know my husband is very, A to Z thinker, very linear, very, very organized mind. he is an engineer, so it goes with that way of thinking and operating in the world, and that's him. And I'm learning that it's okay. That is who he is, and there are wonderful elements to that character of his that I think balances out some of mine. Me, on the other hand, I'm quite okay if, the alphabet starts with K and the letter that comes after that is Z. And I can maneuver my way through that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, either of our ways, but sometimes it's hard for us to see each other. And I think one of the things as women, a lot of us sometimes experience is, moments where until things come together, until things dovetail nicely for us in our businesses, where we don't sometimes feel supported in the way we would like to be supported. That isn't to say that our partner isn't supportive, but they're on their own journey too, So how do you, what do you say, one, to women? And we've had this, I recall one interview I had that was a super powerful interview where, the expert involved, Kim, got very vulnerable and shared what her former marriage was like. And I thought it was such a blessing really to this Telesummit, because it was a huge validation piece and permission giving release piece, I'm sure, to many listeners. So what do you say to women who are in relationships that, to be quite blunt, aren't relationships that they're happy in, but they're forging ahead with their businesses because you spoke very passionately, and I get that. I do align with that. You spoke very passionately about the difference that it makes when there is that alignment, have a supportive partner through. What do you say to women who don't have that? They're either in a relationship where that element is quite unsettled, or they're not in a relationship at all, as with your friend.
Yeah, so this is really big, Cheryl, super big. And my husband, just to be really honest, I was about to leave him. He was my enemy. He was my absolute, I thought, this is it. I am living with the enemy. He would nitpick me, criticize me, and all out of fear, of course. Was not supportive of me pulling away and launching my own business as a coach, even though he wanted to be and tried to. There was a lot of very intense, showdowns. and my instinct was to hide, to shut down. But the purpose, we've already touched on it. I have something important, legacy work to, step into. So that became my bigger commitment than keeping the peace by being quiet or being someone that he'd rather me be, even though he didn't rather me be that. Yes. So what we have discovered, what Shane and I have discovered is there's a huge restructuring of identity. So men are just as fearful as women. So often women collectively, and I'm making generalizations here, but as women, we are overcoming silencing and oppression, and we think that men aren't. But really, men are as well. Women still in some way want the man to be strong and rescue them, yet men in general are very shut down and sacrificing their well-being to provide for family, and are not getting the validation and do not have the sense of belonging that they yearn for in our current culture and society. So really, they don't have what we need. And so often I think we're just having unrealistic expectations and taking things personally that are not personal with our men, that they are feeling caged and trapped and scared. And women are using generations of oppression to say, you can't hold me back. And so it's playing out in relationships. But ultimately, what we really need is to just look at the innocent being behind the actions and the words and really come together and move forward together. It's not, I mean, I know that that's easier said than done, yet that is where, you know, unstoppable, talk about legacy. That's where unstoppable legacies are created, not only in a relationship, but in homes. Think of healthy children witnessing their parents co-create powerfully together in this completely new revolutionary paradigm that we're entering into. I do believe that it feels scary and unknown because we do not have enough role models. So I think it's ultimately comes down to the same thing. Men are looking for purpose just as much as women are. And the whole idea of personal leadership, you know, women are finding their leadership through entrepreneurship and motherhood. And men may be finding that through entrepreneurship. But I think it's, you know, ultimately we're all people looking to feel important, contribute, be told everything's going to be okay. I love you. You know, you belong here. Come rest with me. So ultimately, when women rise up in strength, you know, the men want to be reassured that they don't need to hold it all. I think a lot of men are feeling the burden of survival, and it really lashes out. It really can create a lot of devastation at home. So compassion and patience and working a good model. That said, I'm not committed, you know, I know many people who have ended marriages because one partner wasn't willing to do the work. So it does take a willingness, you know, to try different things to get different results. So if someone's in a partnership where there really is no willingness, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, how we feel is most important. But that said, if I had given up when I did at that darkest, most painful moment, I wouldn't have this that I know now, and I wouldn't trade it. I'd go through 100 years of the pain point to feel this for a day.
Oh, I'll take a moment here. Yeah, that just gave me goosebumps, to be honest with you, because there is just so much honesty that came through with that, and so much healing and so much reassurance, because I know there are many women listening to this that will feel very validated and will also have that bit of a shift in perspective as well. Yes, there are clearly relationships that are not healthy, and you know, you would know if they are not, better than anyone else. You know, just speaking, all of us, we would know that. But then there are others where, you know, if there is that equal willingness to work at it, and it may be different things for different people, as you know, I'm sure you were alluding to there. It can turn out quite positively and supporting in a supporting way as well. But no, you spoke to this beautifully, truly beautifully, and I thank you.
Yeah, may I add one thing on, Cheryl? I want to respect your time here too. But for people, this, you know, the conversation of our healthy connection in our relationship directly, it's proven, scientifically proven, that it directly correlates to our ability to create wealth. So our healthy connection equals our wealth creation. And if anyone really is interested in what I'm sharing about, I urge you to go to a website, drsuejohnson.com. And on her videos tab, there's about 5 videos, and they're really short, but it will just expose light onto why this works, how it works. And if you're just interested in you know, in taking it into your life, she has 2 books as well, but it's a gold mine, drsuejohnson.com.
Dr. Steve Johnson.
Sue Johnson.
S-U-E. Dr.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yes.
DrSueJohnson.com.
Yes.
So I've got that noted, and I'll repeat it, drsuejohnson.com, for anyone who is interested. Lovely. Thank you again. Great. So we're getting towards the end here, very close. I know your kids are quite young, but what impact do you think being a mompreneur is having on them?
Oh gosh. So my younger, very, very, you know, just nonchalantly said when she loses her first tooth, she wants a $100 bill, a diamond ring, and a wedding cake. So
Bless
you know.
her.
And
That's a big moment.
yes. And when they set up lemonade stands, they're, trying to sell lemonade for $10 a glass, and, just really, they don't, they're very confident, assured children who are very creative and have never been told that they can't do something. Just recently, the world came in with my oldest daughter, and it was very devastating for me. But I realized that as long as I'm modeling continually, modeling my best, and I've not always been my best, right? But I'm always committed to growing and learning, and then apologizing and celebrating. And so just being really authentic and alive and unleashing myself into life. I believe that I'm doing my best, and we're always just doing our best. But yeah, entrepreneur mothers are going to be raising the leaders of tomorrow for sure. People who are, kids who are thinking outside of the box and really, are open to a better world and creative problem solving.
Creative problem solving. I think that has come through consistently with just about every expert on this Telesummit series. And it's quite interesting because everyone has, there are children of different ages. We've got quite young, beyond your children, a little bit younger, and adult children. And there is that common thread that runs through, about being quite creative, being quite confident, knowing that they have choices. It's not limited to one way or just two ways. It's a wide open field, and I can go where I feel aligned. There's been a lot of that that's come through. So yeah, I'm glad you share what you share, and it is consistent. Lovely. Great. Final question here for you, Sacha. What would you say is the number one habit, the number one strategy, and the number one insider secret that's been responsible for you achieving the success that you've achieving and sustaining as well?
Okay. So ultimately it comes down to mindset. So being our biggest cheerleader, really cultivating a real diligent inner dialogue of self-love, approval, commitment. So I track every day my emotions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how kind and compassionate was I to myself? Did I allow outside circumstances to rob my sense of safety, peace of mind, joy? Everyone has different things that are important, but it should be a 10 every day. If I'm allowing outside circumstances to rock me, then I'm really compromising myself in my business and in how I'm showing up as a mom and as a wife. So that is a great strategy. Also, something that has just radically changed, and we actually have the same business coach, radically changed my ability to sustain and scale my business quickly, is understanding principles of business in the information age. And that, I just think we can't overcome a bad plan. I used to work bad plans and they'd work inconsistently. So it's so important as brilliant women to be effective. And the quickest way to be effective is to sure up, really align with a plan that works. And then put the blinders on and just do what it takes and get the support to make that plan work.
Beautifully said. Rounds it off very brilliantly. Couldn't add to that, so I'd leave it as is. That's really nice. Thank you for sharing that, and very, very important pieces as well. Great. So you just shared so much with us, and I was so busy taking notes myself. I'm hoping that everyone knows the drill by now, where I say, get your notepad and your pen and take notes. I'm hoping you did that, and as we've done throughout. I'm going to hand it over now for you to tell our listeners about your free gift offer.
Absolutely. Yeah, very generous of you to let me share this with your audience. So if you are in need of a plan that will effectively get you results, then I encourage you to email me. SachaSterling@gmail.com is just my direct access, and I'll be offering you a complimentary 2017 business plan strategy session. And I'm just going to be super generous and give you an actual plan. I'm not going to hold anything out so that you can run with it and really see your results and have that work-life balance that I know you probably are wanting or wanting to create more of.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's very generous of you, and Thank you very much for offering it to all our listeners, to the community. So for that, really important, very useful, ending 2016 very differently than you may have ended 2015, and definitely entering into 2017 knowing what you're about. Get in touch with Sacha at Sacha Sterling at gmail.com. Did I get that right?
Yes, and I spell my name Sacha. So
Right.
Sacha. Got it.
Right, and that link is also going to be on the website, so easy to connect with you. Fantastic. Great. Sacha, it's been super awesome. A super awesome chat and interview with you. Thank you so much for all you've shared, and just really powerful nuggets throughout that will shift and just help us grow and learn, get us moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cheryl. I really love your work in the world and believe in you. And thank you so much for including me in this very important event.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. So I'm just going to say goodbye to our listeners. And if you stay on for a minute or so, we can have a little roundup after. But thank you, everyone. It's been a joy, been a shared pleasure. I'm so pleased that you took the time to join us. Thank you. Bye-bye.